Colorado must now offer bonds, even in the worst murder cases. The governor says he wants that changed, but is in no hurry to do it. Douglas County says people without homes can no longer live on the streets there, and if they try, they'll be transported out of Dougco to somewhere else. Computer simulations are deciding where billions of dollars should be spent on fire mitigation.
It's going to be a tough job for whoever has to do it.
And the King of Park Hill is back in Denver. Of course, basketball's involved, but building young leaders is Chauncey Billups' goal. That's tonight on Next. It is not get out of jail free. Often it is a very expensive bond. But now Colorado Supreme Court says people accused of even the most heinous murders must have a chance to get out ahead of trial. Our Kelly Rinke reports on an effort to change that.
After a ruling from Colorado's Supreme Court, questions and concerns linger. The decision started something unprecedented, judges granting first-degree murder suspects bond.
That I'm going to have to dig deep into this issue and get some legal minds around this issue.
Democratic State Senator Rhonda Fields says she plans to look at a possible bill to see if legislation can keep these people behind bars. This change is happening after lawmakers in 2020 repealed the death penalty. Last week, the state's highest court said because there's no longer a capital punishment, first-degree murder, a capital offense, must be eligible for bond.
And I did not see that coming. But that's also unsettling and very troublesome.
Senator Fields knows how families must be feeling because her son was murdered in 2005. 2 men were convicted in his death and placed on death row. It's why she voted no on getting rid of capital punishment.
I don't believe my peers when they voted to repeal the death penalty if they meant that people who commit first-degree murder would be eligible for automatic bail.
Cases are cycling through court to follow this new law. $10 million cash bond for James Craig in Arapahoe County, a dentist accused of poisoning his wife. A $2 million cash bond for teens in Jeffco accused of throwing a rock into a young woman's car and killing her. If this ruling came earlier, the suspect in the Club Q mass shooting would have been eligible for bond.
But it just opens up the door and the options for all of these offenders to exercise their right.
High bonds don't make this issue less serious for her. She believes certainty they won't ever get out before trial is the only answer. Now, since this ruling took effect 8 days ago, we haven't found a case where a defendant has paid that bond and gotten out of jail. The highest bond we have seen is $20 million, and that was down in El Paso County.
So there are some people clamoring for this to be changed right away. Like for cases in the news now, there's no indication that that's going to happen.
No, from what the governor has said, he's basically pointing to state lawmakers. You know, I want you to look at this session. Now, if they wanted to come before January, it would call on the governor to call on a special session. I even asked Senator Fields if she feels that that's necessary. She said, no, I think this can wait until January. We want to take some time and some research to see if this is even possible to fix at the legislative level.
So bottom line is, if somebody knows about a heinous case in the news now, that person's going to get a bond.
That person is going to get a bond.
All right, Kelly Rinke, thank you. Douglas County is banning public camping while making it clear it has no intention to create a homeless shelter in the county. Dougco's 3 Republican commissioners unanimously approved the ordinance last night, making it illegal to camp on county property without written permission from the county. The ordinance makes an exception for people who can't find other shelter. But again, Dougco doesn't have a homeless shelter to point people to. Commissioner Abe Layden says the county will arrange to transport people out of Dougco if they don't have a home. RTD's board of directors got a real earful from riders who say they don't feel safe, right before RTD approved some new safety rules last night. Early version of that new safety code was criticized by homeless advocates because it banned continuous riding all day. So RTD dropped that part. RTD instead is going to ban people from being on RTD property if they don't intend to use its services. They're also going to ban violent language and harassment. RTD's been trying for months now to address safety concerns, mostly related to drug use on board and hygiene issues.
I felt deflated. I felt deprived, to be assaulted and not be able to do a thing about it.
I now carry pepper spray. I carry a flashlight that turns into a taser because I've experienced numerous issues.
My boyfriend was also a 5.5-year veteran light rail operator. He resigned 2 weeks ago. He is not the first and he is not the last. There are more operators looking to leave because of the drug use.
RTD also changed its suspension policy, giving its police and security staff a bit more leeway when deciding when to suspend people for violating policies. All these changes are effective immediately. Smartest way to fight fires is before they start. The federal government's going to spend hundreds of millions of tax dollars in Colorado to remove dead trees from our forests, with the realization that even that will not be enough to stop the next major fire. Here's Mark Salinger.
All the people who were experts in it said it's not a matter of if we have a fire, it's when and where.
The scars on Grand County will last for years.
The when and where kind of was answered up here in October of 2020.
The East Troublesome Fire burned nearly 200,000 acres. If you ask Grand Lake Fire Marshal Dan Meyer, the fire's immense size and power was predictable because of all the fuel that was left to burn.
So much deadfall and down trees that you couldn't get into where it was.
The federal government is now spending billions of dollars across the western U.S. to try and stop wildfires like this from happening again. The plan is to remove dead trees and burn low-lying vegetation that could fuel a wildfire like East Troublesome.
It's going to be a tough job for whoever has to do it.
In the last couple of years, Congress has sent more than $4 billion to states like California, Montana, and here in Colorado. Problem is, that's not even close to enough money. A 2020 report from the Colorado State Forest Service estimated it would cost $4.2 billion to mitigate fire danger and address land health in just 10% of Colorado's 24 million acres of forest. The 10% of forest that's in urgent need of treatment.
We can't really reasonably treat all of our forests across the western U.S.
Camille Stevens-Ruman is a fire ecologist at CSU.
We live in burnable landscapes, and pretty much everywhere can burn, and a lot of it comes to how much fuel is out there that could become burnable.
The Forest Service uses computer models to simulate wildfires and determine wildfire risk. From there, it determines what land needs to be treated or cleaned up first. So the wildfire likelihood is calculated based on thousands of simulations of possible wildfire seasons. In each simulation, they input factors like weather, topography, and how much moisture we've gotten. The Colorado Front Range has some of the highest wildfire risk in the entire country, but far less than places like California, for example.
I wonder if it gets to some point where we start getting fire forecasts like we get weather forecasts, based on areas and probabilities. And we're seeing our first, major fire of the year now.
Yeah, exactly. There's a fire down in Parachute right now that's burning around 3,000 acres. That is in part fueled by all the fuel that's down there. It's gotten into an area with a lot of trees, pushed by the wind. That's how it spreads.
All right. At this point, no threat to folks in Parachute, no evacuation, but continuing to watch that thing. All right, Mark, thank you. It's summer camp season, and there is a camp for kids who are sometimes left out of traditional summer camp experiences. Imagine is the recipient of this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. Imagine provides all the adventures you'd associate with summer camp, outdoor fun and field trip and sports. It's just they add on the adaptive equipment and the therapeutic team that kids with intellectual and developmental disabilities need so that they can get the most out of camp. Imagine is a nonprofit serving young people in Boulder and Broomfield counties. Each camper gets a personalized plan based on their own challenges, strengths, and goals. You pair that with specialized support for each camper, and you have a summer camp experience it's beyond fun. It's a chance to be included. And it's a chance for campers' bodies, minds, and social skills to be challenged and grow. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. We know that your $5 donations add up fast. So as always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5 to get us started. I love that Imagine also stresses that its camp activities mostly take place out in the community. So it's not just those campers that benefit from creating an inclusive space. It's everybody. And let's help them do that for even more of these campers.
We're blessed enough to make it, and also smart enough to be able to give back.
Chauncey Billups' road to the NBA ran through Denver, and now he's making sure that kids get the same opportunity to succeed. Well, here's a sentence that you do not hear often. Topgolf has conceded the election. And using cannons to fight off hail sounds far-fetched. Farmers did it here for decades. One of you's wondering, what happened to Colorado's hail cannons? I am pleased to report that American democracy is still functioning. Topgolf says it will respect the results of last night's election in Timnath. Not sure what a Topgolf insurrection would have looked like. Probably just a bunch of golfers storming town hall, waving their clubs or something. But fear not, Topgolf respects the will of the people. Timnath voters voted overwhelmingly to ban nets and fences over 65 feet. Last night's vote was a backdoor way of banning a proposed Topgolf in Timnath. Topgolf told us today they will not be pursuing any more plans in that town. They're going to look for an alternative site. So perhaps a ban on really tall fences will be coming to a ballot near you in 2024. Tonight's next question comes from Mike in Brighton, who's noticed that Colorado's response to hail has changed in recent years.
Question is, what happened to our hail cannons? We used to have hail cannons in the farms nearby, and they protected our houses.
I got to admit, Mike, I was pretty unaware of this until your question came in. So this is a hail cannon. This is one that was used in 2006 down in Center in the San Luis Valley. They would send shock waves up into the atmosphere and try to disrupt hail formation. We reached out to Colorado's Water Conservation Board, and they told us there is not a single active hail cannon permit anywhere in Colorado today. It's been some years. It had gotten rarer over the years. It's expensive. Apparently, the science behind hail cannons is kind of Plus, they're fairly unpopular with neighbors because every time the storms fire up, you got the cannon every 10 seconds going boom, boom, boom. So in 2006, there was a farmer that was working a couple of hail cannons down in southern Colorado, and he got the other farmers in the area mad because they thought that his hail cannons were disrupting rain patterns and were causing drought in the area. I have never been within earshot of a hail cannon, Danielle, but apparently they have to be fired off somewhat continuously throughout the storm to prevent the hail. I mean, can you imagine that? Like, some people are like, bringing in like their, petunias from the front porch, and somebody next door, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah. I mean, every 10 seconds you have to do that. That's why, and I love the farmer drama too.
Yeah, but I mean, could you imagine that? Because I mean, everybody's very fickle about like, why'd you get rain? I didn't get rain. Normally you think that's Mother Nature. No. But if Joe next door has a hail cannon and you didn't get rain, you're like, Joe, my man.
We have some beef with you, Joe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So wild. It'll be interesting to see if maybe we get another hail cannon and the whole permit thing. If so, if someone wants to do it, one of you farmers off to the Eastern Plains, invite us out. I want to see how it works. Across the Boulder area, looking pretty good. Couple of clouds out there, still monitoring the wildfires burning across the western slope. The Spring Creek fire out there around I-70. We still have the red flag warning going until 8 o'clock tonight. Good news is it does look like it will expire late this evening. However, we still have a lot of smoke out there. Air quality advisories because of it out to the west. And then look at this one for the I-25 corridor. High levels of ozone in and across the urban corridor. That's going to last us until at least midnight tonight. It was a warm day. Back to the 80s. Not quite in that 90-degree territory for us here for the Front Range, but sizzling in southeastern Colorado. We have been monitoring a few storms across parts of Wyoming and Nebraska. It looks like a tornado warning yet again with radar indicated rotation within this cluster of storms that's just about to impact Kimball, and also right there across I-80, the cell tracking off to the south and to the east. A heads up if you're heading in that direction. Thunderstorms will be possible late this evening across the northeastern plains here in Colorado. Everyone else, you're good to go. Tomorrow morning we'll have some sunshine, and then by 2-3 o'clock, here we go. Thunderstorms firing up in the foothills, few rumble across the metro area, and then really blow up off to the eastern plains. That's going to be the bullseye for trouble for us tomorrow. A slight risk just pretty much east of Greeley. Here in Denver, however, 3-4 o'clock, we'll be watching those storms starting to roll in. Upper 70s, low 80s for highs. We'll do it again on Friday. A little cooler right now. The 80s, sunshine back for the weekend with a few storms on 4th of July.
More than anything, I just remember being these kids.
And that's why Chauncey Billups is back, making sure a new generation, even if they don't have his skills on the court, will have everything that they need to succeed. That's next. Carmelo Anthony has been gone for years, but Nuggets celebrations were decidedly mellow in terms of the damage done around town. Only about $8,000 or $10,000 worth of repairs needed to be made. City said it was mostly sign and signal work around the intersections of 18th and Blake, 20th and Blake, and 20th and Market. That's where people were riding the traffic lights like rodeo bulls. The city says there was also the added expense, though, of the employee time that it took to make those repairs. So $8,000 to $10,000 worth of damage. To put that in perspective, Back in 1999, reports said celebrations from the Broncos' Super Bowl win left an estimated $160,000 worth of damage. So Nuggets fans mostly kept it classy. That is a word that I also associate with one Chauncey Billups, who happens to be back in town.
Together.
This is a fun period, what they're having, because they're in the classroom most of the time.
And go.
We're at Regis University. What you're looking at now is PBLA, Porter Billups Leadership Academy.
Porter Billups Academy is an educational piece. It has nothing to do with sports.
Coach Porter, who was the founder of this, started it 28 years ago.
No, Chauncey is my right-hand man.
We both kind of grew up in the inner city, at risk, youth, and we're blessed enough to make it, and also smart enough to be able to give back.
We look for leaders, young leaders.
A leader is someone who sets an example for others to know off of.
Someone who not only leads other people but also encourages other people and who genuinely wants the best for other people. The teachers talk to you and they really care about who you are as a person.
I came from the environment that these young kids, come from now. And so it just does my heart. I'm just pumping right now. Just so proud of them.
Well, I just remember being these kids, and people poured into me. People in my neighborhood, people in my community, they just poured into me and gave me the hope and belief that I could actually make it out. And I did. They know. They don't believe, they know when they leave here that they can be anything they want to be.
Natalia and the rest of the soon-to-be seniors will graduate from that program tomorrow. I'm looking to say all you want to talk about is Topgolf. That's fine. We'll talk about Topgolf. It's your feedback, not mine. Next. Summer camp's out of reach for some kids because of their intellectual and developmental disabilities. So in comes this nonprofit in Colorado called Imagine. They have a summer camp that has the one-on-one support, the adaptive equipment, and the expertly trained staff to make sure that every kid can have the joy of summer camp. Imagine can use our donations to provide even more adventures to the kids coming to their camp in Boulder and Broomfield counties. More field trips, more horseback riding and rock climbing, more adaptive sports equipment, more cooking sessions. The stuff that makes summer camp fun for any kid. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me in donating to Imagine. Oh my goodness, your feedback on Topgolf. Julie says Topgolf is one of the worst eyesores known to man. Have you seen the McMansions in Denver and you still feel that way? All right. Jack says that if Timnath is going to ban tall fences, then they just need to dig a 91-foot pit and construct the facility at the bottom. Jack, I'm guessing that would be cost prohibitive, but maybe you've given the folks at Topgolf an idea. Tommy says, watch Topgolf just build their establishment with no fences. See how the town of Timnath likes them golf balls. Maybe they thought of that too. I don't know. Why do they have to go with netting? Maybe they could just put up enormous 150-foot walls around the Topgolf. See how Timnath likes that. If nothing else, I'm guessing a lot of people would go up there to play and come away with a t-shirt that says Timnath Topgolf balls to the wall. See you next time.